Hey, this is Professor MJ. Yeah, that's me. I'm the stat professor with the French accent. Well, guess what? The Buffalo Bills are 3-0, which is good news for my $10,000 bet on them to win at least 7 games this year. What made last weekend's win even more exciting was that one of my official picks was the Bengals +6 at Buffalo. So I got the best of both worlds. The Bills won the game, which was good for my big bet, and I also won the Cincinnati bet, since they were 6-point underdogs and they lost by only 4 points. Now, speaking of my official picks, they went 2-1 last week. My top play was the Vikings -8 against the Raiders, which is the one I told you about in my weekly video. I also won the Cincinnati bet, and my last pick was the Chargers -3 points against the Texans. It looked like we were going to go 3-0 at halftime when the Chargers were up 17-7, but they completely collapsed in the second half. Alright, now this week I've got 3 official picks and 5 leans. I'm going to tell you about one of my official picks. Now, if you want to get access to all of my picks, well, as usual, you can either get my weekly package or my season package. You can find the link to those packages in the description of this video below or on my website at professormj.com. And I'm also going to tell you about 4 out of my 5 leans. Well, actually, I already told you about the Eagles at the Packers in the Thursday night game in another video. So in this current video, I'll let you know about 3 more leans. Alright, let's do this. Here are my week number 4 picks in the NFL. Alright, so one of my top 3 picks this week goes to the Cleveland Browns +7 points at the Baltimore Ravens. Wait, what? A 7-point spread in a game between division rivals whose talent level is about the same? Wow, give me the underdog. Divisional matchups often lead to hard-fought and tight games, which is what I expect in this one. Last year, Cleveland beat Baltimore by 3 points, and later on, the Ravens got their revenge with a 2-point victory, so both games were very close. Cleveland's struggles have been much talked about and publicized, and I feel like it has inflated the line on the Browns, which offers us a good bargain. I know, Baker Mayfield has not looked good thus far this season. He has thrown 3 TD passes versus 5 interceptions, and he has completed just 57% of his passes. But do you really expect him to struggle that much throughout the entire season? I don't. That's another example of a statistical phenomenon called regressing to the mean. His numbers have been subpar, but they will certainly improve until the rest of the season. I have no doubt about that. But right now, people are judging him based on his 3 games this season. The Browns still have many dangerous weapons on offense, with Nick Chubb, who has looked very good thus far this year, Odell Beckham, and Jarvis Landry. And their defense is above average. They were missing 4 starters in their secondary, and they still held the Rams to just 20 points. Now they are expected to get Damarius Randall back, and they have 2 more guys, Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, who are questionable to play, so they do have a shot at suiting up this Sunday. Basically, I'm trying to tell you that the Browns are being underrated. And on the other side, I feel like the Ravens are getting overrated. First, they crushed the abysmal Miami Dolphins. Okay, that's fine. Then, it was not that easy beating the Cards at home in a 23-17 victory. Then, at first sight, it might seem like they came close to beating the Chiefs in a 33-28 loss. But remember that they were down 30-13 through the first 3 quarters. Lamar Jackson threw a couple of very wild and erratic passes that were miraculously caught, and that completely changed the game and kept it close. Otherwise, the Chiefs would have won pretty easily. Everybody got all excited over Lamar Jackson's first 2 games. But which teams did he face? The Dolphins and the Cardinals, 2 of the worst defenses in the NFL. Jackson didn't look so good against a more respectable defense last week by completing just 51% of his passes. So, based on all of this, I'm taking the Browns and the 7 points, thank you! Now I already told you about one of my leans, the Eagles plus 4.5 points at the Packers in the Thursday night game in a previous video. My second lean of the week goes to the Patriots minus 7 points at the Buffalo Bills. New England's first 3 opponents have a combined 0-9 record. Buffalo's first 3 opponents have a 1-8 combined record. So finally, a meaningful game for both squads. If I had to summarize in just one sentence why I'm taking the Patriots in this game, it would probably go like this. Do you really want to bet against a mastermind like Bill Belichick facing a young and error-prone quarterback? Sure, I feel like Buffalo doesn't get enough credit. They are better than what most people think. But they are not in the same class as New England just yet. Let's be honest. Buffalo could be 1-2 right now. They came back from a 16-point deficit against the Jets, and they needed a late touchdown to beat the Bengals last week. As the season progresses, Buffalo might close the gap with the Pats, but not yet. They still have some learning to do, and they might learn the hard way this Sunday. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Bills to win this game, to help my $10,000 bet on them to win at least 7 games this season. But I don't see it as very likely. It's going to be extremely loud at New Era Field. But Tom Brady has enough experience to stay poised and do his thing. Alright, let's keep rolling with another unofficial pick. I'm going with the Dolphins plus 16.5 points against the Chargers. Huh? I'm picking the Dolphins after telling you last week they had probably the worst roster in the history of the NFL? Yes, because I believe the linesmakers are exaggerating with such a large spread. A couple of weeks ago, Miami was an 18-point underdog at home against the Pats. Now facing a much less stronger team, the line is just 1.5 points lower? Well, give me Miami then. The Dolphins played Dallas very tough in the first half. They were down 10-6 and driving in Dallas territory. It looked like they were going to go at halftime with the lead when Kenyon Drake made a critical fumble at the 7-yard line, and that seemed to completely break Miami's backs. The Chargers have looked shaky thus far. They are 1-2 with their only win in overtime at home against the Colts. Maybe losing their 2 All-Pro safeties, Derwin James and Adrian Phillips, and also their star running back Melvin Gordon, who is still holding out, is hurting them big time. Alright, one last quick lean for you. I'm taking the Raiders plus 7 points at the Indianapolis Colts. The Raiders will be looking to avenge a 42-28 loss against the Colts last season. They're also going to try to rebound from a poor outing in Minnesota last week. Derek Carr has looked pretty good this season, but losing to the Chiefs and in Minnesota is nothing to be ashamed of. Carr has completed 74% of his passes this season. I felt very bad for Colts fans when Andrew Luck announced his retirement a couple of weeks before the season began. What a tough blow. So I'm happy for these fans that Indianapolis is off to a nice 2-1 start, where their only loss occurred in overtime at the Chargers. They've done some very nice things thus far. But here is one more case of a team that I feel has overachieved this year. Indy's best receiver, T.Y. Hilton, left last week's game with a quad injury. His status is uncertain, but I've read that he is more on the doubtful side of questionable for week number 4. And even if he plays, who knows how effective he will be. To me, the spread should be much smaller than this. In my opinion, Indianapolis has much less than a 50% probability of beating the Raiders by 8 points or more. So I'm taking the Raiders. So this is it. I've got one quick request for you. Well, actually, make it 2. Well, first, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so already, if you want to be up to date on all of my free picks and also the betting systems that I unveil to you. Oh, and speaking of betting systems, you are probably already aware that I've developed 19 betting systems in baseball. Well, guess what? I'm super excited because I've been working over the past few weeks on NHL betting strategies. And I've started today shooting some videos about this, including one that is more lucrative than any of the 19 betting systems I found in baseball. So I'm very excited to present it to you, so subscribe to my channel to receive the video once it's released. Alright, and my second and final request, may I ask you who is your top pick in week number 4 in the NFL? So if you had to bet just one game, who would it be? So comment below and let me know what's your top pick for this week. Thanks guys, have a great week!